Hello once again, Dayton, and welcome to the Retirement Blueprint Show with the founder of the Retirement Blueprint, Tim Lofton. I am your host for this half hour, Spike Spengel. Tim, it is great to see you again. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing well, Spike. How about you?
I'm doing okay. I like it because I think that you can help me with reminders like this, that the stock market is not the economy.
Right.
Or at least I hope so. But I got to tell you, for a lot of Americans out there, it certainly feels like it. I think there's a lot of perfect storms that are happening right now, from the stock market being down to really high inflation to supply shortages. And for somebody in retirement, it's kind of scary out there right now.
It is. And Spike, that weighs on consumer psychology, right? I mean,
Right.
we can't help ourselves and we can't get away from it. Here's the good news. We're no longer hearing about COVID, which is...
At least not here, not on our shores.
We're not hearing about COVID now, but the economy is taken front and center. And from the gas pump to the 401k statement, it's having an impact, and people are seeing it. And we've talked about this for the last year on this show, right? We've talked about, guys, this is coming. We don't know when, we don't know what it's going to look like, but it's coming. And when it actually gets here, now people are all of a sudden getting serious about it. And it's difficult. If you're retired and you're on a fixed income. My mom called me this 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she said, I just filled up my car and it was $46 and it used to be $24. And if you're on fixed income, how do you do that? We just got a notification that our electric bill in Dayton is going to double because of supply. I mean, these are real things, and these aren't little increases where somebody's like, oh well, gallon of milk went from $2.70 to $2.80. These are big impacts that are making a difference. And here's the thing about what we were talking about.
The being emotional about what's happening right now.
The emotional part. And not just the emotional part. A lot of times the markets, while they aren't the economy, they talk about what's to come. And typically this is weeks, months down the road, but that's where we really start to see the impact. So some of these things that we're feeling today haven't even fully filtered through the economy per se to actually, and this isn't a doomsday. I mean, we're not telling you the end of the world's coming. The great thing is that our government leaders change every 4 years. We have the ebb and flow and the ups and downs. But today, right now, it feels tough out there. It really does.
How about on the opposite? Are there things that we could look forward to in these fluctuations? Is there anything that is glass half full right now about the markets being down?
Well, sure, of course.
Really?
With every market decline, there's opportunity. Our wealth management team talks every week. I kind of get an update because I'm not the wealth management guy, I'm the planning guy. But our wealth management team talks every week, and they're so passionate about what they do and the research that they do and looking for those opportunities of things. And that's kind of the whole idea. A lot of times people will say, well, we don't want to invest in the stock market, or we don't feel good about the stock market right now. And they, I kind of use the air quotations behind that, because we're not asking people to invest in the stock market. We're investing in specific things, specific areas, specific industries, in some cases, specific companies. And there's always opportunity out there if you have the risk tolerance for it and the patience for it, and more importantly, the timeline for it. Remember, having all of our dollars at risk is not smart. Having the dollars that it's their job for growth, that's really where the opportunity lies.
Right. So there is a concept out there, and I think it would be great if someone like yourself, because I want to remind the viewers out there that this isn't just a program about the economics of what's going on. Tim is actually the founder of the Retirement Blueprint, and a firm right here in Dayton, and helps people figure out their retirement planning strategies every single day in their offices. And there's a concept I'd like for you to talk about, if you don't mind, sequence of returns. Why is that so important today?
Well, it's important because we get to pick our retirement date. We don't get to pick the economy we retire into. That's the key. And so to think about it from this, let's just look at history. 2007, if you retired in 2007 and then you're fully retired, you're no longer getting a paycheck, and all of a sudden 2008 happens and there's an implosion in the markets and the housing bubble bursts and everything just kind of goes away. I mean, we saw a Dow that was at 14,000 drop to 7,500. I mean, that's not a small change. No. Imagine if that was your retirement versus the person who retired in 2010 had a completely different experience. The markets had recovered, their accounts had recovered, and things felt a lot more comfortable. The problem is sequence of return risk comes into play when you're taking income. When you turn on that income and start taking money out, it's basically dollar cost averaging in reverse, right?
Right.
And so when you're taking those dollars out and you have 1, 2, 3 years in a row that are not good, then it makes a drastic difference at the end. And that's really the difference. When you see, two investment accounts and they both average 7% over, say, 27 years, but the first 3 were down and the last 3 were down over here, you have completely different outcomes in where you end up. One runs out of money and one doesn't, all because of when the good and the bad happened, with 27 years in between being exactly the same.
Right, right. And that is part of what people are looking at right now. We've got to be concerned about the sequence of returns. And I know that you have solutions for folks, whether it's the investment management, other outside solutions that we've talked about before, which could be insurance or annuity-based, things that can get you consistent income. But most importantly, you've got to sit down and talk with folks. So tell them a little bit about the Retirement Blueprint before we go to break.
Sure. So I created the Retirement Blueprint to basically give people a blueprint for retirement. It's designed to look at an income plan, an investment plan, a tax plan, an estate plan, a healthcare plan, all rolled together because that is what retirement is. Yeah. All of those things are inclusive in the planning needs for every retiree. And so that's what people will get. When they come to see us and sit down, that's what we're offering.
Thank you, Tim. We're going to take a very quick break. Folks, please get started on your own complimentary retirement blueprint by calling the phone number you see right here, 855-684-3485. We're going to come back with Tim Lofton, more of the Retirement Blueprint Show, solutions for you and your retirement, when we get back right after this.
Hi, I'm Tim Lofton, and for 27 years, we've been helping people just like you navigate to and through retirement with our trademark process, the Retirement Blueprint. Many of our clients are extremely concerned today with the increasing federal debt and the potential for a significant increase in taxes. If you share these or other retirement concerns, give us a call today for a no-obligation complimentary consultation. Let us plan your tomorrow today.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Welcome back to the Retirement Blueprint. The founder of the Retirement Blueprint is sitting right next to me here, Mr. Tim Lofton. I'm your host, Spike Spengel, and we're talking about the kinds of market volatility that are out there. How do we emotionally stay away from making decisions. So I think with information comes power and comfort, right? So if you don't mind, pull out that crystal ball.
Okay.
What are the markets going to do in the next year, 5 years, 10 years? Do you have any idea what's going to be coming up next?
Here's what I know, Spike. We need the magic 8 ball.
Yeah.
Remember the magic 8 ball, and what should I do?
Seems like so.
Yes.
Right?
Here's what I know. I graduated from college in 1992, and the Dow was at 3,200. 30 years later,
Oh, wow.
it's at 32,000. That's 4 doubles over 30 years. So let's say that you can discount it and say, well, that's never going to happen again. We're only going to see half of that. 2 doubles. So 32 becomes 64. 64 becomes a Dow of 128,000.
Okay.
So I just, I want to put into perspective where we are today. I'm not taking away from the pain. I'm not taking away from the fear. I'm not taking away from the concern. But let's have a little bit longer view than the next 6 weeks, the next 6 months, because that's where the bad choices come into play.
And this is important because somebody could be retired for that 30-year period, the entire duration of that 30-year period. Now, I know that you probably say we need to work on the design of the portfolio, how much risk is exposed, how much is guaranteed income, and so forth. But you could be retired for those 30 or 35 years, and we need to make sure the money grows through that duration, correct?
Absolutely. And, when we think about longevity, and this is, I joke about this all the time, because every time we have somebody come into the office and I tell them about 30 years, they're like, I'm 60 years old, I'll be dead then. Maybe, maybe, but what if you're not? That's the thing. When you look at medical technology, are we living shorter or longer?
Much longer than we have, and like every decade. And right now, we're kind of at what they call it in the elbow of the curve of technology, meaning things are advancing very quickly right now. So there's ways that we're all living longer.
I and I don't want to be, pessimistic.
Okay.
But here's the thing: if I'm wrong and I die with a bunch of money, right? I mean, that's my downside. If I die and I run out of money, that's a big problem. I don't want to be wrong, and so I would rather be prepared for living long and not than prepared for living short and then living long.
Right.
That's where, that's where the problem, Walmart greeters are there for a reason, right? I mean, there's a reason why the average Walmart greeter is 60 and 70 years old. I mean, somebody didn't expect to live that long, and then they did.
So for somebody who is worried about today's market volatility, not sure what to do, what kind of advice do you have for them? I know having a written plan is important, but what should they be doing? Do they need to turn the news off? Do they need to stop spending as much? Do they need to stop skipping meals here and there? What is the advice for somebody who is worried about what's happening?
And that's such a great question. It does start with a plan, and I know I feel like we're beating a dead horse here, because every week we talk about you got to have a plan, you got to have a plan, you got to have a plan, but you got to have a plan, and it starts with a plan. The plan itself is trying to figure out how much income you're going to need. It's a matter of deciding what things can go wrong and how would we fix them. It's a matter of looking at your estate plan and using the protections that we have to be able to protect the estate if that's the direction that needs to go. And don't forget history. I just gave you history. 3,200 to 32,000 in the Dow. Embrace that.
And again, on the front page of every prospectus that nobody's ever read, past performance is no guarantee of future results. Any assertion to the contrary is a federal offense, right?
They actually say indicative. It's not indicative of future.
But if we look just at the history of what's happened over the 100 years of the market, that is consistently what's happened. It's these shorter periods of time where we're going to see this incredible volatility, and by that today I mean downside volatility that we're experiencing. Is this a time to look at our own savings bucket and our own monthly income bucket and maybe increase that a little bit as opposed to being more invested in the markets because of the volatility?
You know, we tell new clients, today's the day. Here's where we are, okay? And so we tend not to look back or forward as much as where are we right now? How much income do you need? What do you have to work with? And we create the plan based off of that. Once we create that income plan, that plan is in place because remember, we're not going to put dollars at risk that have to produce income. We're just not going to do that. Mm-hmm. And so once the income is in place, then that's what frees up the ability with that extra bucket that we've talked about in the past to be able to take some risk, to embrace volatility, to believe in history, that history will continue to repeat itself in some form or fashion. Mark Twain said it doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. That's a great analogy because it's so true. I mean, you look at any decade, the last 50 years, and it's all the same. The economy crashes, there's war and terrorism around the world, and there's economic crisis. I mean, there's every decade. It's just a matter of when in that decade it's going to happen. So this isn't about how do we escape the bad. It's a matter of putting the bad into perspective. If you have a plan, I no longer have to be worried about the things that can go wrong because I have a plan for the things that go wrong.
Right. And to work with someone like you, you can help people stay on this plan, not be emotionally engaged with what's going on in the markets. I realize when you see your accounts going down, that feels bad, but then you want to react and do something, buy or sell, and you want to make sure that people stay on the plan. Please tell them, give them the phone number here, how they can get their own retirement blueprint.
It's real simple. You're in charge. You have total control over your future, but it starts with a phone call. 855-684-3485. Come in, have a complimentary review. See what we have to say. See what we can do to make your retirement better.
Folks, please make sure that you get your own retirement blueprint. It is complimentary, but you need to reach out to us here, 855-684-3485. More of the Retirement Blueprint Show with Tim Lofton, the founder of the Retirement Blueprint, when we get back right after this break.
Unexpected events, like a global pandemic, can turn our world upside down overnight. They can cause volatile shifts that may cause you to question the confidence in your current retirement plan. As a retiree or a pre-retiree, knowing you have a plan that can withstand the worst economic conditions is vital. Contact us today for a complimentary review. Get a second opinion and learn more about our trademark process, the Retirement Blueprint. Let us plan your tomorrow today.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Thank you so much for coming back to the Retirement Blueprint Show with Tim Lofton. I am your host, Spike Spengel. And the Retirement Blueprint itself is a strategy in and of itself to help people be and stay retired. What are some of your favorite reminders, your favorite takeaways when you talk about the Retirement Blueprint with folks? What are some of the key points to it for you?
Well, I mean, I think it starts, you know, at least on the volatility side, and that's kind of what we're talking about today, and that's what people seem to be worried about, is risk. And, you know, how do you even assign risk? Like, what is, you know, I say the word risk, and that means different things to different people. We have a tool that we use, Riskalyze. It won the Nobel Prize for Economics. And basically what it does is it can show our viewers at home, we can put what you currently own into the software, and it will give you a risk number. And that in of itself isn't helpful. What's really key to the software is it'll show you in 2008 exactly what your portfolio would have gone down. It'll show you in 2013 when things were good. Everybody likes that. They see that, you know, where it goes up and what that looks like. And it allows people to have context to their risk. You know, until, you know, a couple, 3 months ago, everybody was happy. There was no worry. So you talk about risk and they're like, you know, it was good volatility because the volatility was all up. Their accounts were growing, things were good, and there wasn't a concern there. As we move into understanding risk and making decisions before the bad stuff happens, that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to get in front of it. And so if you've gone through, you know, this last few months and you're like, oh my gosh, like, I don't like this. This is not for me. Now is not the time to make that change. It's, you know, that time needs to happen when things are good, not when things are bad. We don't want knee-jerk reactions. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway for people is that we can't just jump in and jump out. That's market timing. And market timing is guessing. And guessing is gambling. Plain and simple, it's gambling. You know, your retirement plan is not the craps table. You know, we're not taking dice and throwing them out there. That's not what this is about. It's about having a plan and doing things in a systematic manner, and that's what the Retirement Blueprint was designed to do.
Now, I know you are the founder of the Retirement Blueprint, but the system itself, it isn't just you by yourself, right?
No.
Because there's a lot of different pieces in place. There's a legal element, there's a tax element. Can you tell me a little bit more? Sure.
So we have an estate planning attorney. That's all she does is estate planning. We have a tax planner. That's all he does. He's a CPA. He does our tax planning. We have a wealth management team. Depending on the levels of risk that someone wants to take or feels comfortable with or that the plan dictates, we have a team of people that basically help craft and create a portfolio to fit each individual. And so this is not a one-size-fits-all. And more importantly, that plan is going to change because risk levels change because people go through times like today where they said, you know what, you know, my risk number on Riskalyze was a 60 and now I've figured out I'm really more of a 40. I'm not a 60 anymore because I can't sleep at night, so clearly the 60 doesn't work for me. And so those are the types of things that it's a constant evolution. We create the Retirement Blueprint for our clients, and that is an event, right? It gets them to the starting line, but that is not the we're done. Our legal team is constantly looking at changes that are made from legislative changes in the state of Ohio. They're looking at federal government changing the rules on what we can do from a planning standpoint. Our tax planner, the changes, I'm blown away at how much the IRS code has changed throughout the year. I had no idea.
Yeah, and some of you've talked about two concepts right now that can be overwhelming for retirees. It's called tax risk and legislative risk. You all are aware of market risk. You're watching it right now. You've got those little red marks that are going across your screen if you're looking at your finance pages, you're going to your statements, but the tax risk and the legislative risk is that they change the rules in the middle of the game, meaning your lifetime. But you do have people who can help you keep an eyeball on all of that?
We do, and I think that's the difference versus having all of these people at separate offices where you have, you've got your CPA and you have your estate planning attorney and you have your wealth management team and your financial planner and your insurance guy. Nobody's talking. Nobody is sharing information, and that equals a bad plan. And you're paying for all of that. You're writing a check to all these individuals, and nobody's talking to each other to make sure that your best interests are being seen through. When you retire, Spike, you become the CEO of your retirement company. You're in charge. And so you can either have everybody under one roof, all working together, kind of a one-stop shop, or you can have a whole bunch of different consultants out there and nobody's talking and they're taking the company in different directions without you even knowing it.
Right, right. Well, we are going to have to wrap up today's program. Lastly, I'll just ask a little bit, how do you help your clients not pay as close of attention to the negative news? And with about a minute left, can you also tell us once again about the retirement blueprint for the viewers that you will do complimentary?
Well, I've given up on trying to get people to turn the TV off.
Yeah.
I think my mom watches like 5 or 6 hours a day of Fox News, and it's the same stuff over and over again. I'm like, why do you keep watching this? She's like, well, I like to stay up to date. I'm like, on what? I mean, tomorrow there's going to be something new that they're talking about. So it's not a matter of getting people to turn off the TV. That would be my first choice. For the viewers at home, turn off the noise. Stop reading your Twitter feed. Stop looking at the Wall Street Journal and worry about having a good plan. If you have a good plan, then when you watch the bad news, it's not that you don't see it, but you don't have to be freaked out by it.
Right.
You're not going to be in a position of making bad choices.
Right. Well, thank you so much for everything today. I will tell the viewers for you about the Retirement Blueprint. I hope you have a great week. We're going to be back again next week with more of the Retirement Blueprint with Tim Lofton, the founder of the Retirement Blueprint. Please get your own complimentary plan. But Dayton, you need to reach out to us here. Call 855-684-3485 so you can get started on your own complimentary Retirement Blueprint about your investments, your taxes, your legacy planning right here. Thank you so much for watching, and please tune in again once again next week.